What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
Does your book, film, resource, product, or business change people's lives for the better? Hi, I'm Jackie Lappin, founder of Conscious Media Relations, a unique boutique PR firm that helps you connect with your mind, body, spirit, and conscious lifestyle audience in a big way. We reach 3,500 specialty media and all the key mainstream outlets in the United States. I invite you to explore our radio media tour that connects to 2,600 personal growth radio shows. There is just nothing else like it. Come check out our website and read our rave reviews.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online, you're now watching the UK's only alternative late-night talk show, and I'm Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now on today's show, I'm joined with Michael Perlin, who is the director, writer and producer of the metaphysical film 3 Magic Words, which reveals the common theme taught by us by all great spiritual masters. Now Michael believes that the problems we face in the world today are still going on because we live mostly on a religious planet and not a spiritual one. He believes there is an answer, a solution that can only come from a new spirituality that embraces a unifying reality of all the religions and sets aside the old ego-driven idea that there is only one true way. Now on today's show we shall discuss his latest book, Fantastic Adventures in Metaphysics. Michael Perlin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be back on again.
Michael, it's great to have you on. It's been a while. I'm guessing that basically, the backstory with me and Michael is that there was an event called for the movie that Michael produced and directed called Three Magic Words. Its UK premiere was in London back in 2012, and that's where we sort of first met. But there was an interview that took place as well, which I'll link down at the bottom of this video as well, which was to do with the film the Three Magic Words. For those who haven't seen that interview, let's just first start with just give us a bit of background on yourself to begin with.
Yeah, well, you're cutting in and out, so I think I heard what you said. Well, I basically I started researching into metaphysics a long time ago when I didn't I didn't like the way the world was going, and I had so many questions, as everybody else does when you're young. And I started at 18, and I started reading everything I could. This was before the internet, before you really had a lot of New Age sections in the bookstore, so I had to really go to the used sections and look for things to read. And so I just started picking up everything I could get my hands on, from Eastern philosophy, mysticism, and world religions. And I just dove into it, and I just found it really fascinating that they were all saying the same thing, and that we were not listening to them. So I set on a journey to make a movie about this common theme that I found. And to really make a long story short, I moved to Hollywood and worked odd jobs and started on making the film myself, and put a green screen on the wall, started interviewing people, and got camera equipment and made the movie. So I wrote it, directed it, produced it, called Three Magic Words, and luckily it was successful. People really were transformed by it, and I would say that I'm very happy with the way it came out. I think it accomplished its mission for those who see it.
Yeah. You know, I remember being at that screening in London, and it was a really special time. There was such a lot of work that went into, you know, getting those premieres, getting them put together. I mean, it was a lot of work on a lot of people's behalf. It was. I'm so glad that I got to go there, and because of obviously Dolores was there as well. Dolores Cannon, she contributed towards the movie, not just financially, but obviously she played a part in it as well.
Thanks to Dolores Cannon, thanks to Ozark Mountain Publishing for putting that together, putting the London premiere together, and also publishing my book. That was a huge extra bonus that they did for me that I didn't even think was going to happen. And 4 years later, they picked that up as well. So they continued to be my ace in the hole, or shining star. Really.
Absolutely. I mean, let's sort of get into your book, because this is what the interview is going to be sort of based around as well. There's so much I want to ask you. Do you know that sort of seems to be prior to the book as well? Okay, well let's from 2012 to now, what sort of journey have you been on as well? From when the film came out to getting this book published.
Right. The book I was kind of writing on the side while I was making the movie, but I started writing it long before that, about 3-4 years before that. So it took me about 5 years to actually write it and finish it. And I was working a full-time job, making the film on weekends, and writing the book at night. So really, that's all I wanted to do, was get both of those projects finished. And I didn't know if the movie was going to be made, if it was going to be completed, or if it was even going to be picked up. So what I did was, when nothing was happening and there was no progress being made to fund the film, I was looking for finishing funds for it. That's when I just went to the book and wrote and worked on the book. And I said, okay, if this movie doesn't get made, at least I'll have this book done. Even though I didn't know if that was even going to get published either. So it was all just taking a big leap of faith and doing what I love.
Okay, so basically, you that process of, as you say, of writing this book, took place while doing the movie, which is actually quite surprising to me, actually. which is wonderful. Now, what is the theme behind the book? What is the book trying to tell people? Why have you done it?
I came from the opposite side of who I am now. I was a skeptic. I was raised a skeptic. I was raised to frown upon or bash people that talked about world peace and love and animal unconditional love for animals and nature. And I didn't understand it. And when I went on the spiritual path and completely transformed to the other side, I realized how I was raised, and like the majority of people are raised just like that. And I wanted to write about not my experience, but write about how to get out of that, how to change or transform into a person that understands their connection with nature and with animals and with every human being on the planet, and not look at it as a bunch of weirdos trying to preach some new religion. And so this book is meant to take the reader on a journey into what metaphysics is and why that's important for spirituality. And what I mean is, it explains what that actually is, aside from religion. It explains what it means to be spiritual and how to get on that path and how to understand what's going on with the world and how to apply it to the world. Not religious, spiritual. Big difference. And I always like to say that religion divides and spirituality unites. And I'm not saying anything against religion, but it's really important for people to understand that it's about an individual connection with the divine and not a group connection. And that's the difference to me. And so I go into that, and that's how I start out the book. And then it goes into everything that came in my direction that helped me to realize this truth, and a common theme that all the spiritual masters have been telling us, and from every world religion and every culture, and tying it all into all the ancient teachings and mystical teachings from history. I guess that's the best way I can put it.
That's fascinating. That is. So you see, how would you define your purpose right now? What is it you think you may be here to do that gives you joy doing, that gives you happiness?
Making the world a better place. Trying to awaken the masses to an understanding that we shouldn't be fighting wars anymore over religion and over land and over the color of our skin. It's ludicrous. It's completely ludicrous. And one of the main teachings of spirituality, metaphysics, of the spiritual masters, is that we are all the same being. We're all one. We're all connected. And when you really feel that, and you really connect with that, you couldn't kill another human being. It's impossible, because you know that they're you. And that is this isn't my teaching. This is the teaching of all the religions, the mystical side of all the religions. I teach this. And I'm just surprised that we've been around now since these teachings, thousands of years have passed, and we still don't act on this truth. We're still not getting it. It's just really primitive to me. I think it feels like we're still living in a primitive world.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do, and I know you're not bashing religion neither. I mean, I think what you're actually saying as well, and from my perspective, is that there's many truths. All of us have our own individual truth. Even those in the spiritual arena, we all have a different truth. There's no one that I know that thinks completely the same. And I think that maybe when you pass on, and you connect with other entities, they're on the same journey of having a different truth as well.
Right. And we still don't know everything there is to know about this world and this planet. And so what, you know, it's just what we learn. We might have to realize that we could be wrong about it and relearn something else. But, you know, and just, it's, we can't just say that any one thing is the truth, or any one religion is the right way or the right path. Yeah.
Well, I suppose you could say, how much does it come from love?
Well, here's the thing. The the ego, what makes us feel like what identifies us, that's the problem. People identify with their religion, or they identify with the country that they live in, or they identify with the color of their skin, and that is they're attached to this. They're attached to what the religion they were born into.
It's so true, that is. I tell you what, that's so true. Someone I know, she's Chinese Malay, and she would say, you know, yes, I might be open-minded and spiritual, yet I expect certain things to happen a certain way because that's my culture.
Yep.
You know, even what I'm saying is, even those who are spiritually, call themselves spiritual in a sense, I think, you know, there's still a lot of learning going on. There seems, when you come down to this level, there's no one life that we call perfect, and there's no we were all growing, aren't we, and developing and trying to make ourselves better and the world better, in a sense. I hope that's what some of us are trying to do. I mean, I think you take a lot on with when we say we're trying to spread this message as well. I you know, probably what it's doing as well is it's getting to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
At the right time. You said something very, you know, in my intro, I said something very interesting about yourself, where you say that you believe there is an answer, a solution that can only come from a new spirituality that embraces a unifying reality of all the religions. So, as you've said, set aside the old ego-driven idea that there is only one true way.
Right. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just attached to their way. And
yeah,
I mean, it's important to understand that it's.
Could we ever live in a world, do you think, where religions could come together? Could that? I mean, because for them there is only one truth, and that's one book. One book.
Here's the thing: the same thing that divides our borders with those imaginary lines on a map is the same thing that's dividing our religions. And until we can get past that, like, this is mine, this is my land because I was born here, this is my religion because I was born into it, this is my skin color and it's the better one because I was born into it, it makes no sense at all. And that is why we are still in the situation we're in. So, do I think that it's possible? Absolutely. I think that it's an imaginary line. It's an imaginary division. So I think that anything imaginary, anything we made up, anything man created with a pen and paper can be dissolved once we evolve our consciousness. And we're only going toward evolution. As long as we don't destroy the world before that, we will evolve.
Yeah.
So many things have happened where you can see clearly that we've evolved. You know, when women began to when women were given the right to vote in America, when Afro-Americans were given equality, when we voted a black president, you know, this is a huge sign of evolution.
Yeah.
So for America, and you know, you could say that for many countries, many different civilizations and cultures in the world, and how they've progressed. So I mean, overall, I think it's getting better. We just have more dangerous weapons that can kill more people at one time now. So it's better, but it's more dangerous.
Yeah, I'm going to get into the book. It's just such an interesting conversation with you right now, because it's like how you probably answered it as best you can, but how do you get past that part of you where you won't change, or you don't want to look at anything else because you're so rigidly set in your belief system that it tells you can't, because it's evil to look away to other things. You can't add to it. You can only go with what's there. How does someone expand themselves? Is it when they've gone through so much pain that they're looking for something else, or are some souls destined to just be in with living with restrictions because that's what the soul came down for?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I believe that some people, some people want to, and they seek it like I did. When I decided I wanted to learn, I wanted to seek something that made more sense to me, that I wanted to understand what it meant to be spiritual and be loving, and I wanted to really learn how to be a better person. I wanted to help change things on the planet. When I was at that point, that's when I shifted and went on to search for more meaning in my life. So I think that some people want to, and those people that will want to will. Some people don't want to. The people that don't want to are the ones that will just eventually die off, just like all the just like, I mean, we that's human evolution, is when the racists and the haters and the warmongers, they will eventually die. Hopefully they didn't teach their children how to hate and how to kill. Hopefully that will slow down as we evolve more in our consciousness. And so that's, we have to wait for it. Time will change, time will heal. If it
Yes.
doesn't happen in our generation, all we can do is teach our children better things and better ways to see things and better ways to treat people. And hopefully they'll teach their children. So what we can do now is just plant seeds. I mean,
Well, yeah, and I've got to just say congratulations to you as well, because you've got a little baby now as well,
thank you.
and I'm, and I'm very, very happy for you, and I'm guessing this is what you're going to do as well, pass your truth to him, and it's up to him how he wants to take that truth, but you can only do your bit of difference as well by the way that you'll bring up your kids.
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to have a choice. He can do whatever he wants to and believe whatever he wants to, but we're going to teach him what the difference is between spirituality, true spirituality, and just choosing a religion.
Absolutely. He's got a very interesting dad, that's all I'm going to say. And one that's definitely on a path and has got a lot more in front of him right now than probably he can see. I like the way that I understand the book now. I understand why you've put all these different chapters in there. So we'll get into the chapters, but really this is a reminder for some, yeah. And also for anyone new into this, it's a great book as well.
Thank you.
So let's just look at the first chapter. We talk about, and I might just dart across a few different chapters here, but first of all, we talk about, of course, metaphysics, and you say, what's it mean to be spiritual? To compare to religious, and do you need a religion to practice spirituality? But what is, I would probably ask, first of all, what is the difference between spirituality and religion in your understanding?
Yeah, we touched on that earlier. But first I want to say that I have to make a disclaimer that this goes deep into some things that some people might never have heard about. It's metaphysically deep. So I have to warn you, if you're ready for that, if you're ready to see things differently from your eyes, you see the world differently, then you can go forward and read this book. But if you're not ready for that, then don't worry about it. Don't even pick it up. All right. So the question, what is what the difference between spirituality and religion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to me, spirituality is a individual thing. When you can connect with the source, you connect with the divine, connect with that source in your very own consciousness, and not have to join. You don't use any group or something to join, or to listen to somebody speak for you in front of a podium to speak to God for you. That's the difference. Spirituality is just the relationship between you and God, and religion is the relationship between you and a group teaching from some master, or doctrine from some leader or prophet.
Now, Christians would say, and I'm not digging at Christians here at all, I'm just observing I know what they would say. They would say, well, you can't believe in God unless you believe in Jesus. But what would be our answer to that?
Well, when I was on my spiritual path, I would meet with so many different groups of people, religious people. I would go and have Passover dinner with a rabbi and Orthodox Jews, and they couldn't understand why I wasn't Jewish anymore. They're like, "Well, where do you go to temple?" I'm like, "I don't go anymore." They thought they almost had a heart attack, and I'm just looking at them, going, "What is the big deal?" Then I, have dinner with my Christian friends, and they look at me and they'd be like, "How can you not accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior?" And I'm like, "What is the big deal?" And then I would sit with my Hindu friends, not and they would say, "You can be whatever you want." So they're kind of cool about it. But anyway, it taught me something very, very interesting, that people think that there's only one way to God. And I
Yeah.
realized that, I'm not going to choose any one side here and say this is the way. Why can't we just choose them all? And I had this conversation with with a girlfriend of mine, and she's like, "You have to pick one." I'm like, "Why? Who said I have to pick one?" Man said that. It doesn't make any sense. And when you study metaphysics and you do a lot of research, you realize that Jesus never meant for a religion to be created around him. He
Yes.
just wanted us to learn from his teachings and um, practice what he preached, and
So true.
understand there's a divine, unconditional, loving Father in heaven. And um, I truly believe that he was inspired. He had a divine inspiration from God, and um, he was a divine being. But he also taught us that so are we, all of us. We all are divine beings, just as he was. He taught that. So, the one thing that man has a tendency to do, and this is in history and all cultures, it's something that for some reason it's in our DNA. It's an archetype that man has done in throughout all history, and that is to anyone that comes and teaches us a spiritual, becomes a prophet and teaches us divine teachings from God, that we put them up on a pedestal and say, "This is God. This is the only God." I don't know why they do that, but they just do that. Man has done that, and it's
Well, it's true. It's true. I mean, you
great.
look at some of the other religions, Islam. In some respects, it's the same thing. Very, Muhammad. A very wise man. In a lot of respects, a very, 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 spiritual guy, a leader at the time, and when,
They're
as
even
you
doing
say,
it today. They're doing it with gurus, saying, "This is
yes,
God.
yeah.
This is God."
You know,
People acting like their guru is God. And the
but
gurus don't teach them that either. The gurus tell them, "No, I'm
well,
not.
yeah,
You are
ex-
too."
exactly. That was going to be my point. Is that these people did not want a religion building upon them, but it's a great way of controlling people at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? Religion is a creation of man around um, a doctrine of a teacher, and that is what it is. And it wasn't. It's not a. It's not something that God gave us. God gave us spirituality, because that's in our heart and our soul already. We're amazing, infinite, spiritual beings. All of us are, and it's
Yes.
just about waking up to that truth.
Yes, and I probably said this before as well. So sorry if we're repeating ourselves. It's just to get the point across that, I always tend to think to myself when religious people, I'm in their company and I fully respect them. I always think when they're telling me about a teaching, it's, well, how much does that teaching come from love?
Right.
How kind is that teaching? And if it resonates with love, then it's not a bad teaching. If it doesn't, I find it very difficult to say that there's any truth in that for myself.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So, okay, and you're right about your book as well. It's as you go on into the chapters, there's some very deep stuff, and you touch in metaphysics as well. The science of how consciousness affects matter. Fascinating, because we're almost getting into a bit of a law of attraction there as well.
Yeah, and that stuff that we were never taught in school as a kid. You probably weren't either. They didn't teach us any of that stuff, and now it's starting to come out as common knowledge that, yeah, like, we know now that matter is illusion, that it's just a bunch of particles vibrating at a high speed, and everything is this vibration. And our consciousness, since the 70s, they've been studying at Harvard, at Yale, how consciousness affects physical matter. And they've been doing tests, people sitting in a room and actually making things happen, electrons moving or changing by their own thoughts. So we know the science is true now. And how is it going to affect the way we live? How is it going to affect the way we see the world? That's the question.
A great thing about your book as well, I think, is that it is based in some science as well. But a great thing about your book is that I like science, right? Personally, I think science is fantastic. I think we need science, but science doesn't answer everything. And a book like yours will answer some of what science can't. Yeah. So I think so. Because I think it does personally. After going through some of the chapters and everything, and that's it's not. Yes, there's some parts that are complex. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's a nice read as well for to have a bit of a refresher for myself. It was as well, and if we just move on to, I think the chapter was heightened awareness, and you cover sort of from ancient astronauts to UFOs today to the Bermuda Triangle, the unified theory. Is this sort of chapter there to sort of look at the idea that maybe we were helped along the way at a certain point, in a sense from something spiritually evolved, not from here?
Yeah, you could say that. I go into detail into that in future chapters. Sure. I mean, I don't want to go too much into it in this.
No.
And what you're talking about now is, I did put a lot of paranormal occurrences in and talked about that and what's stuff that we've heard about, but we just kind of pushed aside because everybody just said, "Oh no, whatever. We don't know about what's happening in the Bermuda Triangle, or we don't know if anybody's been here, and we never will." But it's so sad because there's so much research that you can do and uncover things that we know is going on. And if you go outside the box and you look into it, and just you have to go out of your comfort zone, you will discover some things that's happening on this planet that it's crazy, that will open your eyes to a more universal truth, that we're not the only ones here, or that came here on Earth. And it could go far back than we could ever imagine in history.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah. I mean, you look at the ancient structures on this planet, from the pyramids, and the Nazca lines, or whatever it may be, and you cover this in your book as well. All those ancient structures, we still can't answer today. How they built them with the skills and the technology they had at the time.
Right.
So it's always brushed under the carpet. We never really look at these, because to look at these subjects sometimes it's so easy for people to sort of say, oh, that's just ridiculous, come on, our textbooks tell us that it potentially was this way, there's no other reason behind it. But there's proof there, though, isn't there?
Oh yeah, and that has a lot. Again, as we evolve in our consciousness, the archaeologists and Egyptologists and people that were considered experts find themselves to be wrong on so many points, and then they're going to have to change everything that they believed in, and that's the hard part. Once we learn more and more about, can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
I thought it was something went out. So yeah, a lot of truth is coming. More truth is coming out about what went on long ago, and how these things got here, and who did them.
Yeah.
And I read a lot about that in my book. I mean, there's so many great authors that did a lot of their homework, like from John Anthony West to Graham Hancock, and a lot of old books that I found in my past that fell off the shelf in the used sections of all these bookstores that they're not even in print anymore. So I wrote took a lot of the content out of those books as well, so they don't get lost. So I found a lot of really great gems that I wrote about in this book.
Yes, you did, absolutely. And one of your chapters as well deals with reincarnation. And I was not surprised to see it there, but I suppose what's your viewpoint on reincarnation in the bigger picture of spirituality?
Yeah, well, I don't push any kind of agenda or any religious belief. What I do is I present the facts and the data, and I let the reader decide what they want to take from it. So I go into just the facts. I go into evidence. I go into what documented evidence and historical facts and personal accounts, and I just kind of put it all together and let you decide what you want to believe.
Yeah, and with reincarnation, obviously, is that something you believe in?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I don't. Here's the thing about the book, my book, Fantastic Adventures in Metaphysics. I don't claim that I believe in anything, because that would just be coming from a place of where most religious people would come from, belief. And I think belief is blind faith to me. So I don't state what I believe in. I basically say I think it's a possibility if I think something is probably true. So I guess it means the same thing to some people, but I just don't even use that word anymore. So I mean, I do. I actually did say I believe, and I do it just for semantic reasons. But when I say that, I think it's a possibility.
I like that. What you're actually saying is you're allowing people to make up their own truth rather than a belief, a truth. Is it a truth for you? Is there any facts in your life, but when reading this book, that you can go to sort of bring into experiences that you've had to say, oh, well, maybe that experience explains this particular chapter or explains this point that right, that you've put down. Yeah.
Well, without going into my personal experience, I had some eye-opening, one-on-one personal experience in my life that I would never thought I would have. That was really the turning point of my entire life, and that's in my book. So that's kind of what led me on the path to actually witnessing it for myself, the possibility of reincarnation. And that's from human to human. It's like a recycling of the souls. So, and there's so many different forms of it that other people believe in. But, there's just so many different concepts of it, and that's fine. But I wrote more in detail about that.
Right. So yes, you've had your own experiences. I think that's so important. I mean, some people may go through their life and never realize they've had an experience, or may not be ready for any experiences yet, they'll come across a book like yours, and it'll at least push them in the right direction of what their deeper part of them is seeking, that reawakening of themselves.
Yeah. One last thing about that is there's so many PhDs that have come out of this. There's psychiatrists with PhDs, hypnotherapists. You can read Brian Weiss's books. Dolores Cannon did hundreds, if not thousands, of readings of people that were taken back to their past life. And Edgar Cayce was one of the most famous ones. And if you just pick up any of their books, you'll see all the evidence is out there that it's 99% possibility that we are coming back here over and over again. So that's really, it's the research. You do the research. You can't. You just sometimes it's undeniable what you find. But so that's where I come from on that.
Does your book cover psychics or channelers?
I've read a lot of channeled books on my path, on my research in metaphysics. Part of that is reading everything you can get your hands on, and that includes channeled material. So I of different material that were said to have been channeled from higher beings or from universal consciousness and things like that. So, Book of Enoch is one of them, or the Keys of Enoch is one of them, and Urantia book, and there's about 3,000 pages in that one. I read it from front to back. Really fascinating information that you can kind of collect what resonates with you and just discard the rest. You don't have to take every single thing you read as truth when you're doing this kind of research. So yes, absolutely, I've read pretty much all of them.
It's interesting, a lot of the channeled information as well, because I've read a bit as well, it talks about, this is only our truth. What's yours?
Are you talking about the beings that are being channeled say this is our truth?
Yes, yeah, this is only our truth. This is our truth as far as we understand it. That's what the message that comes from channeled information is. It's kind of like, this is our truth as far as we understand it.
Right.
You have to make your own truth up, even though we're going to give you a solution here to maybe make your passage on Earth a bit less painful, but you've still got to come up with your own truth.
Yes, and a lot of the extraterrestrial channels they all say that same thing, and there are so many thousands of channeled books that were said to have been channeled by extraterrestrial beings out in our universe that are looking down on Earth and trying to communicate with us and telling us what's going on and what we can do better. And a lot of them say the same things. A lot of them will say different things. So that, again, that's why you have to take whatever you resonate with and take out the rest. But yeah,
maybe it's the same thing because we're just not getting it in the first place.
They keep saying the same thing over and over again.
Because we're not getting it. We're not doing it. Well, not
Yep.
that we're not doing it with something we have to do, but there are solutions, and the information's out there, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what they're saying? What the solution is?
The solution to a more peaceful planet, I would say the bigger message of channeled information is that we're all one. If we come from that space and realize that we're all family, the world could change overnight.
That is the underlying common theme that they keep saying. That's true. That's the common theme is they're always saying that we are all one with everything in the universe, everything in the galaxy, even God, and we have to wake up to this truth.
Now, how do I know that? You could say.
You've read it.
Well, no, I haven't. Since the beginning part of this year, I've been channeling. And it was something that came to me when I was in a pretty bad state, you know what I mean, a very low ebb, and I allowed this to come in because it came in, and since January, I've been writing a book for this channel, and that's the message that comes to me, and I've read before that none of the channeled information, so it's just nice to put my channeled information across to you, and as you've read them, it's saying the same thing, which is what mine says.
They also say
Interesting, isn't
something
it?
else that's really kind of, I think it's important, because, and that
Mm.
is that we're not alone.
No.
And they are here, and they've been watching us, and they're waiting for us to evolve. And they're protecting us. A lot of them say they're up there making sure that we don't destroy ourselves. So it's, and you know, when you come to a understanding that there's so much more out there, that the possibility of other life on other planets, and you realize that we are just another species on this little tiny blue planet, and that there are suns that are billions of times larger than ours. I mean, just think about that. It's crazy how tiny we are, actually. Our sun is actually a medium-sized star in our solar system. And it is just, and there's 200 billion stars in our galaxy. Most people don't think about that, what that even
No,
means, you know.
but
It's really funny. You should
but
try it. If you want to test somebody to see where they are, where their consciousness is, just bring up that question. Say, do you know how many stars are in our galaxy? And see what they say. And then most people don't know. They don't. It's kind of like they tune it out. Like, oh,
it's so true what you're saying. It's so true.
but you know what? And here's the thing. When I am in a big city, you don't see the stars very much. You really can't see them because of the luminescence from the city itself. It kind of blinds out the black sky. When you go to, and the people just go about their daily business, and they're hustling and bustling, and they're going in their cars, and they're driving home in traffic. When you go to a place like Hawaii, you can see every single star in the night sky. It is mesmerizing. And then there's this connection, there's a spiritual connection you feel with the universe. Always. Every night you come home and you see that. And it is, most people don't realize until they go on vacation how many billions of stars are out there, and they can see them. They can see a chunk of them from where there's, it is thousands. And it's a huge spiritual connection that you feel. Again, it's that's why they're so spiritual in places like Hawaii. That's my theory, and why it's just so beautiful, and everyone is so loving. You feel that every day.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Sure.
That's so amazing. Some of the stuff you're sharing.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. You know, it's like was saying that it's so true what you're saying when you look up at the sky, and you know when you can see it, and you know look at some of our amazing telescopes that we've got up there. I can't remember the name. It's not the Hubble, but there's another telescope that's up there as well right now, and it, you know, it's only looking at the tiniest pinpoint, and in that tiny section, there's just so much. There's just so many stars. It's just incredible, and you think in a universe that's ever expanding, it's just apparently there's no end. And to me, that's, you know, what more proof do you want that there's more to this reality than what we see? When we can't even get round our head what that potential of the never-ending universe is. You know, it's not the Truman Show where we're going to get to the end and, you know, we're going to see who's behind the curtain. There's something bigger.
Right. And I don't need channeled information from extraterrestrials or UFO sightings to convince me that there's other life out there in the universe. I don't need any of that stuff. I just know. I already know. You just think about it. Just use your common sense.
Yeah, of course, and I think, coming from that perspective as well, I think, you know, like I said to you at the beginning of this interview, your book will reach the right people who need it. Other people's information will reach the people that they need it. We all seem to need information in different ways sometimes, told to us in a way that we would get in the moment that we need it.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it'd be nice to have a book that was reached everyone, but you know, we're all on different paths. You know, we're all here for different reasons, and going with the flow is a big part of learning, isn't it? Sometimes down here, just to go with the flow a bit.
Absolutely. The same thing with my film. You know, people that are that see it, that are ready to see it, they're transformed. But the people that see it that aren't ready to see it, nothing.
I
They're
remember
just,
one lady I was sat next to in the cinema when the film was going on, and because I was busy doing, working there as well at the same time, but I sat down and I could hear her saying, "This is dangerous. If my son thought he was God, he would go do something stupid." And I'm like, wow, yeah, you think that, don't you? Yeah, you've missed the message a little bit.
exactly. And it is that you don't want the wrong people, like Jesus said. The people that are ready to hear will hear, and those that aren't won't. And I'm not saying that basically what I'm saying is that you can see this and take it the wrong way if you're not ready. And what I tell people is that, this is God consciousness that's in all of us. It's not your personal ego that is God. It is your pure consciousness that is God. And that is what all the masters from all the cultures and religions of all history have been telling us, this truth. People don't want to hear that. They don't want to understand what that means. They don't want to accept that they're divine. Instead they want to call themselves sinners in some cultures. So I choose to believe that I'm divine, that I'm a divine seed, and I choose to believe that everybody else is too. And we just have to awaken to that truth.
Absolutely. Now, in your book, I believe there's, is it about 21 chapters?
Yeah.
Yeah, 21 chapters, all, and each chapter is full of different information, and there is literally so many. I mean, look, I'll just we've you've got the UFOs, you've got things like we've mentioned, reincarnation, the Bible code, Nostradamus, spiritual healing. We talk, it's talked in there about the secrets of sound and vibration. Oh, Atlantis, who built the pyramids, the electromagnetic grid. I mean, really, it's got it all in there, and it's there's not much it doesn't cover.
Exactly.
So
that's why it's called The Fantastic Adventures in Metaphysics.
yeah, it's a great name, man. It's really is a good name. What would you say is one of the more important messages of this book?
That comes toward the end when it ties it all together, and here's the thing that I would say is that before reading this book, if you're not aware of all of the unanswered questions that our scientists and our archaeologists and our historians have come up clueless, if you're not aware of these things that we can't explain that have occurred on this planet, if you're unaware of information that's been hidden from us, that's recently been released by high level degree Masons like Manly P. Hall, if you're not aware of any of that stuff, you will be when you read this book. And once you are aware that all this stuff has been going on and you haven't been told any of this in your schools, or any of this by anybody of authority, and you realize that nobody wants to know the stuff that are teaching, just that think that we just need to learn how to add and how to spell and who won what war. When you realize that, then you'll be more open to receive the truth about who you are, who we are, and how we got here in the first place. And it goes beyond what your religious teachings. It goes beyond, that God put man and woman on here to live 100 years and then die. And then when we die, we either go to a good place or a bad place. That's black and white. It's really simple. It's kind of dated now. I'm sorry to say, for me it is, and that might hurt a lot of people's feelings, and I get it. I had to hurt my own feelings when I got out of my religion. It's kind of like a bird flying away from the nest and finding the true spirituality with yourself and with God as an individual connection. and it's really important to me. So when you learn all that stuff and you realize who you are, then you are totally ready to evolve your consciousness to understanding your connection with everyone, everything on Earth, the animals and the planet and people and the universe, and love unconditionally the way Jesus told us to with everyone, and become nonviolent, become less angry, stop hating people, stop arguing, stop eating healthy. You start to do all this. You'll start to change. You'll start to really live the way that God would live through your eyes. And that's a big part of my teaching, is that to understand the God within you, you have to look at the world as God is looking through your eyes. And how would you act if he was, or if she was? How would you treat other people? How would you treat the planet? And so that's what you'll learn, I think, I hope, from reading this book.
That's really, really, really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Sure.
Where would you like to see yourself? I mean, I know right now, obviously, your focus, is with the book. Of course, it should be. But is there any sort of aspirations that you have? I mean, would you ever get back into doing another movie? Should I not say that?
Yeah. I do plan to do another one. It's all in the planning, and I have several of them in development. If you go to the website, you can see all the projects that are in development, the screenplays. None of them have been funded yet, so I'm just kind of have to wait, see when the money will come in for them to begin each one. 3magicwordsmovie.com, and then you click on Starseed Films. You can see all the projects that I'd like to get developed.
That's right. Do you know, I had that feeling about you. Do you know that I had that feeling that you were going to do another movie, but I didn't know you had all those in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's hard to stop. It's hard to stop when you start, and people love what you do, and you get a lot of great feedback, and a lot of people are just come to you in tears for changing their life. It's kind of hard to stop.
Well, I'm sure whatever you're going to do in the films, having the 3 magic words behind you will only be a blessing, and will take you onto a newer level now for what you're going to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Now, to buy the book, obviously we've been putting the book on the screen. To buy the book, what are the best ways to do it? Is it just Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon's the best way, I think.
Amazon's the best way, yep. Or any other good bookstores that may stock it. Well, this has been I've really enjoyed having you back on, and I've really enjoyed sort of catching up with you, and I hope I've done justice to the book. And I'd just like to say, Michael Perlin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kevin. It was a pleasure. It was wonderful to be back on the show, and I'd love to be back on again.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Lots of love.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.